Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeehaw, buddy.
You freaking hot. Get your cowboy hats out, baby. We are 10 days away, folks. Hey, look, I'm not one to skip over football, but like I'm skipping, baby. College
Yeah,
basketball.
you're done with football.
Dude, I was done with football, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, maybe 4. Wasn't the Vikings, I'll tell you that, but
yeah, I had to cram a little for this. I'm still in the thick of the football season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't cram like 2.5 hours ago, just finishing a podcast to be like, yeah, that's about right. Yeah, I think that's where I'm at right now. Man, good to be back with you. I've been like our good friend and a very loyal listener. Sometimes pokes the bear, Kelsey Sheridan. Even last night had looked at me and was like, hey, when are y'all going to record? And I was like, we're actually going to record tomorrow. So she and a few other people have, again,
I've gotten a few texts from Big Don.
My boy, Big Don Julio. Hey, where's my content?
Y'all gonna do that this year? Yeah, Dad. Yeah.
Don't worry, Big Don. We got you. Don't worry. I'm gonna dog on A&M. I'm gonna sit here and talk about how A&M shouldn't be ranked. They're gonna do the whole thing. Everybody's gonna be like, man, are you freaking kidding me? Giddy the heck up, A&M. And you know what's gonna happen? Buzz and the crew are gonna fall out of the top 25. And they're all gonna be like, what?
Wow.
What happened? It's like, Don, you kidding me?
Real hot.
We're all gonna like peel back over the last couple of years. And you know what's happened? It's the Buzz Peterson. I do this every time. Not Buzz Peterson.
Buzz Williams.
It's the Buzz Williams show in the Aggies, which is they have an incredible offseason. Mm-hmm. Absolutely incredible. Good recruiting class. Dudes come back. And then they start tripping on their own feet, forget to tie their shoelaces. Conference play will start. Then they'll pick it back up. We've seen the story before. They're just rewriting the chapter. That's it. Yeah, we'll talk about A&M. Don't worry about you.
Here my dad is asking me, hey, are y'all into that podcast I like? And here we are, less than 3 minutes into the first one. Big Papa with a gut punch.
Is maybe season 3 is just the season where we're just throwing haymakers. Like,
maybe.
Am I feeling a little bit better that Con Man's out of Lexington?
Ooh, we got some stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we do. Hey, and before we get started, I think, as the old saying goes, this could be somebody's first episode. Maybe you're new to college basketball. Maybe you're not. You just happen to stumble across our channel. I'm Big Papa. That's Bobby Hoops. Our collective insight on college hoops is basically whatever we pull from the internet. I'm a big burner ball guy. If you've heard of Trilly Donovan, good dude to follow. If you like Discord, that's where we're at. So a lot of stuff I get is from there. Or, Hoops probably follows a different couple insiders from the Tennessee side. Trilly Donovan's thing is more national. So that's fine. If you just want to text me about your team and say, hey, what are they saying? I'll see what they say. If there's nothing, I'll let you know. If there's something, I might be like, maybe. I'll let you know. We'll see.
National stage, we're going to be a little more like inch deep and a mile wide.
Yeah. Which
getting the SEC, we'll get a little more in depth with it.
Yeah, there's a really good chance, and I think we're both fans of Split Zone Duo. They famously say too, you're a bigger fan of your team than we are. Like, you know more about them than we do. But like, we dabble. We know some stuff.
And I might be ignorant about your team, but I still might pop off about them.
Like, am I going to watch your team, a.k.a. like Vanderbilt, Missouri, play in the Poop Bowl whenever they square up during conference play? Yeah. It's going to be another loser leaves town game. Your coach is on the hot seat kind of situation, and it's just like, yeah, I'm going to be watching it at 10 o'clock.
Who knows about Vanderbilt, though? Brand new team.
Stop. I'm not giving away my.
I don't know.
We'll see. So I would also say our history when it comes to like, hey, did you all play basketball? Whatever. We've talked about it before. I played 2 years in high school. You played how much in high school?
It was for the high school teams 0. Big donut.
Yeah.
I was a heck of a great role player on many rec basketball teams.
Yeah.
Good rebounder, make the right pass. If I'm wide open for a jumper, I get a little scared, might miss, but I might make it.
I get scared.
I'm more, name on the front of the jersey than the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who appreciate. Yeah. I just love the team I play for. That's all.
Clean up the boards, dish it out. You make the shot, please, so I don't have to.
You epitomize the definition of I'm a big assist guy. I'm just trying to set you up.
Yeah, sure.
So that's our history and background when it comes to actually being ball knowers, which I think is fair to say. Do we know ball?
I think I know a little ball.
We know a little ball.
We've watched a lot of ball in our day.
Yeah. I've yelled.
Yeah.
While watching a lot of ball. That isn't
me too.
Like your local high school basketball coach knows more than us. Yeah. We'll take we'll take negative comments. I don't care. You're just running up our engagement. That's
why they're coaching and we have a podcast that a few people listen to.
They're gonna be like, oh, the local bozo here in town runs a show and talks more about ball, and I coach the team. I'm like, yeah, you do. So,
although I don't know if they have as many sponsors as we have now.
No, so that's another big thing too. We've always had the loyal backing of Realty Executives Associates. Thanks for hopping on for season 3. But we do want to proudly show we have new sponsors, whether they know about it or not.
Yeah,
not really us to get in the weeds about. But thank you, Turtleson. Thank you, John H. Coleman. Appreciate you guys. You don't have to do it.
Yeah. Thanks for supporting Big Papa. Thanks for employing me, John H. Coleman. Yeah.
They don't have to do it.
No, they don't have to do it.
I don't know if you have a code for John H. Coleman. I mean, I have a code as a male model and just online presence. Austin White. They'll get you 10% off at Turtleson, your entire order. Wow. I can't hide. I think it would be illegal for me to hide it. Do I get paid if you use my code? I do.
Nice.
So just a little wet the beak.
Get on the down line.
That was Turtleson's thing. I was like, sure. Yeah, I'll do it. Wet the beak a little bit. So
for you.
Thanks, Turtleson. Thanks, John H. Coleman. I think that's probably fair to enter into. So we last were with each other end of April. Mm-hmm. I think it was right at, So this took place basically Cal if you Google it and look it up, news says Cal leaves Kentucky, goes to Arkansas. I got a couple things I want to push back on. It's not just as simple as, Cal just decided to leave.
Coach Cal, John Calipari, formerly for a long time, the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah, 15 years.
Leaving in the middle of the night to head to Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Then the Prince of Provo, Mark Pope.
The Prince of Provo.
The Prince of Provo. Provo. Yes, sorry, I don't know. He comes running over to Lexington.
Comes home.
The
95 championship team?
96.
96.
Still works. 95 started in the fall. You win in 96.
Sure.
Same. And that's the last time we were with each other. And if you go back and listen, which I haven't, it's been a while. I was trying to think, did I pop off about my initial feelings when Pope was announced, how I felt after? Chances are I probably did. So I'll keep it short and just say, yes, my initial reaction was, I'm going to go smoke all my cigarettes. I'm going to throw my phone. My garage drywall was just sitting there going, uh-oh, not tonight. Please, no more. And then shortly after, I was like, well, this could work. If you get the guys, if your system, the whole thing has to work. It has to match up. But I thought,
sure,
if this goes the way it could, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's probably the epitome also of any fan who's like, well, got a new coach. I can either get behind this guy or gal and maybe try to have some fun, or I can just sit here and twiddle my thumbs, be mad every day. And I was like, well, nostalgia is a hell of a drug. As I'm watching old clips, he has his press conference. They sell out Rupp, and I'm like, oh,
this is fun. Hadn't felt this way in a while.
And I mean, which people can say whatever they want, but it's like when you watch grown men like in tears at the press conference, which again, you're kind of like, well, I mean, like it is just basketball. But I get that for a lot of guys, I mean, like my dad, my uncles, like there's a lot of people that's like what they saw in a peak time of their life. You know, that's what they remember from childhood, early
positivity. Hadn't been a lot of that in Lexington for a little while.
Right. There was a big feeling of I feel like I got my team back versus somebody's just kind of renting space. They put on a uniform where some of those words used as a calculated tactic. Who's to say? No, Pope, comes in, kind of uses some of those remarks and is saying you're not going to come to Kentucky and rent a uniform. You're going to put it on proudly. This team belongs to the fans, to the state, and basically we're going to whoop tail.
That's an A+ PR press conference move to come in. I mean, it was obvious the last however long. Kentucky was more about the guy in charge. It was more about him than it was about Kentucky.
Yep.
And Mark Pope is like, he's a Kentucky guy. Cal was not a Kentucky guy.
And that's fine.
There were some good years still.
Yeah. Cal was the right guy at the time he was hired.
100%.
100%. When you go from Billy Clyde Gillespie to you're going to take him. But yeah, when Cal shortly after is sending texts to recruits being like, hey, how did he phrase it? Basically saying like, hey, still the same operation. We're just moving to a different state, which is like, oh, okay. I mean, again, that's how he's always viewed it. Just early on, he had to go about it some different language, try to get the fan base on board with him. And, he did. And it worked. Now it's just like, oh, yeah, it was just always a factory. And you're just like, oh, we're just putting on a different color. That's all.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So, all I have to say is that's where we left off. And, but over the summer, you, my friend, had a big leg up and a big move professionally. If you want to tell the fans quickly what you're doing now.
Yeah, I still technically work for Realty Executives.
Sure.
I legally can sell your house still.
Yeah.
It's legally licensed to do that. But no, I started working at John H. Coleman, heating and air and plumbing and electrical. We wear a lot of different hats. But yeah, there's not much more to it than that. Just working for John H. Coleman. They're a big time HVAC company here in Knoxville. Been in business 80 years. So shout out. Keep it cool. Keep it cool with John H. Coleman. I just made that up.
Oh, I was like, is that a thing or?
No, I just made that up right now.
That's your jingle. Okay.
So,
I like it.
Yeah, I don't know. Keep it cool. Let's keep it cool.
Hey, well, let's be honest. I'll give a quick plug to John H. Coleman. As somebody who was in a little bit of a freak out mode earlier this year, you know who I called?
Wow.
John H. Coleman. Literally 2 days before closing, I'm in the weeds about a heating and air unit situation. I was helping the buyer. I love them. I won't dox them on our channel, but it was a situation where, and I get it, they were spending a lot of money. Thought the seller should handle this thing that was going wrong, and basically hit up Critter, make a call. And they're like, "We'll be out there tomorrow morning." And I just was like, "Thank you, John H. Coleman."
There you go.
So, I will give them the plug any day of the week. But obviously hit them up. We're about to enter the winter season. It'd be a great time to make sure that your unit is working properly, especially when you're trying to run your heat at 72 degrees when it's 15 degrees outside, which isn't very healthy for your unit, but make sure it's working.
Yep.
So, John H. Coleman, did you do anything fun this summer? Did y'all go any trips?
Yeah, we went on a big trip. Went to Italy with the whole family. It was a rip-roaring good time. Bellissima.
A lot of good red is a lot of the pictures I saw, which was like, I'm so jealous.
Mm-hmm. Little vino.
Mm.
I say a little. Yeah, a lot of history, a lot of cheese, a lot of bread.
Yeah.
A lot of just, yeah, it was great.
But you would tell us you didn't feel like disgusting afterward. You were like, I feel
No,
satisfied, but
it's
it
built
just,
different over there.
yeah, like
They
you
don't
just
put
feel,
a bunch of crap in the wine that they put over here,
come on,
so you don't
America.
feel sick the next day.
Can we put that on the ballot for the election coming up? Like, hey, can we just like just quit putting preservatives in our food?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
I just care about the simple things, and that's one of them.
Thanks, man. Yeah, thank you. I might write you in.
I mean, okay, I'll go for it, but I'll be like, that's a terrible choice, but like, sure. Or the Hamburglers, another go-to for me.
Oh.
If just like, like a local, which I shouldn't say this, but like local election, if there's just nobody, I'm like, sure, let's give the Hamburglar a chance. You think he can? So, yeah, man, summers were banging, crushed it, went on some vacations.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. I'm just happy for you, happy for us. We're back in it.
We're back.
I think you just want to like quickly talk about the AP poll that dropped a couple weeks. I was about to say a couple weeks ago. Really, it was like a week and a half, maybe two. Which some of these teams have already played as well. You got some exhibition games happening. I don't really know if a lot of SEC teams have played. And didn't Tennessee play an exhibition game? Or do they do one of those secret scrimmages with?
Yeah, like a secret scrimmage, which I've not even read anything about how that turned out, but probably not a ton to take from it right now.
I'm gonna piddle through real quick on the top 25. This is what AP polls come to. Starting in order, we got Kansas, Bama, UConn, your back-to-back champs, Houston, Iowa State, Gonzaga, Duke, Baylor, UNC, Arizona is your top 10. And right after them, we've got Auburn, Tennessee, A&M. Man, 3 SEC teams, just 11, 12, 13. Purdue, Creighton, Arkansas, Indiana. Talk about a little hot seat going on up there. If they don't get it right, oof, yikes. Marquette, Texas, Cincinnati. That is your 11 through 20. Then shortly after that, we've got Florida, UCLA, the Cats, Ole Miss, and Rutgers. I won't do another deep dive because I already kind of had my rant. The only one I was honestly really surprised was probably A&M being at 13. But again, the whole Buzz Williams thing, that was just more like, okay. I think there's probably like a lot of people that are shocked that UConn probably isn't back in one. I mean, are we just going to – I'm sure you're probably like, are we going to split hairs over 1, 2, and 3? I mean –
Sure.
Talk about between Kansas, Bama, UConn. I mean, if you want to give any slight to Kansas after last night's exhibition game against Arkansas,
I get on paper why Kansas is. I mean, they were on paper so great last year. They had a lot of injuries down the stretch. Hunter Dickinson is a great player. Sometimes feels like doesn't quite live up to the hype that he gets. But they've brought in a great transfer portal class. His name is left me. The guy they got from Wisconsin, who AJ Storr, I think that's his name. He was the leading scorer at Wisconsin. He's kind of been a guy who's transferred a lot, but great talent. They got is it Ryan Griffith from Bama, who I think he shot like 40% from 3 last year.
Yeah.
On paper, Kansas is sick, and Bill Self has all the experience in the world of going deep with these talent-heavy teams. Last year, it was kind of defense that was their big bugaboo down the stretch. They couldn't defend really. So we'll see what that looks like this year. But it just seems like they just brought in even more firepower. So on paper, I get it. And I'm sure we'll talk more about Bama. UConn, it's like the last team that has three-peated was, I believe, one of the UCLA teams with John Wooden back in who knows when, the 70s. Yeah. I mean,
they could do it.
They could.
Which, again, as we said before, UConn fans know their team more than we do. But I do know that they still have the talent, still brought in enough talent from high school, a few transfers where I'm like, they might be able to do it again. And it would be baffling, I guess, just to see it because it's been so long. Who was the last back-to-back team? It was Florida, wasn't it? I mean, they went back-to-back in, what was it, 07, 08?
07, or 06, 07.
So, again, gaps in when a team goes back-to-back national championships. What do you usually have? A lot of continuity, not a lot of turnover. Guess who's kind of got that going for them? UConn. Yeah. So if you hate UConn, you better buckle up. They might do it again.
Well, and they've got the best basketball coach maybe in, like college pros. I mean, everybody wanted Dan Hurley.
Yeah. If you
flirted with the Lakers for a day or two before getting a new this dude is a psycho and gets the most out of his players always. I think whatever. I think I read a thing that this is the first time that UConn won't have any returning players from their first national championship team. They returned a lot of them last year before their second run. And obviously this time they won't have Donovan Clingan, their big 7'2" center, just beast who really anchored their defense and was a big reason why Zach Edey couldn't do anything in the national championship game. Clingan's gone. He was a top 10 draft pick. So UConn will look different, but I mean, they just reload on talent, and I'm sure they'll look a little different. And it's probably why they're not like the unanimous number one right now. Is the starting lineup will look. I think they have one returning starter, but I just still think doubt UConn at your own risk because Dan Hurley is. I'm sure this is some bulletin board material that they're not number one right now as the returning back-to-back champions.
Yeah, instead of actually putting the trophies in the trophy case, all he's got is printouts of the AP poll and tweets that say, UConn not unanimous number one. So instead of showing off trophies on recruiting visits, it's recruits looking at we should be number one, and he's just firing off about this isn't us. Yeah. So. Man, it's not even me acting this way as if like I have this massive disdain for UConn. It's just more me trying to process mentally, what if they three-peat? Then I'll legitimately be like,
very well. I mean, I
think I would be like, I don't know how then you can't think for the next decade that basically like, well, just go ahead and assume they might do it again, which, somebody who's a fan of a team at one point, I kind of thought the same thing when Cal first started. And in his first year, they make a run to the Elite Eight, and you're kind of like, well, why not just assume we'll have a chance to make it to the championship every year? But I think it's more impressive that he's doing it with NIL, transfer portal. Like these things are now an everyday thing versus like, if you pulled it off before all these things, again, it's always impressive regardless. But if you pull it off now, where guys can go wherever they want, just, some of them, understandably, or whoever's going to cut me the biggest checks where I'm going to go, kudos to you. If you can be a head coach now and pull it off. We'll see what happens. Duke is probably the one team personally that I'm like, oh, man, Duke might be back, which – Cooper Flag.
Cooper Flag's the big name.
Go ahead and I know that, most people are probably like, seen a clip or but guys like there's a really good chance he's your number 1 draft pick.
Yeah, he's supposed to be
they're
real,
gonna be good.
real, yeah.
And you're gonna see it. You're gonna see it early. Cats and Duke square up. Game 2, game 3. So and that's in like 2 weeks. Get ready.
Yeah.
That's also gonna be a late night tip. Shocker. And it'll be like 9:45 probably at the earliest when it tips off.
Big Papa gonna be pouring the espresso.
Yeah. A little double shot. Just go ahead and assume, Didi, that I'm gonna be up and not coming to bed until like 1:30. Could be later if they lose. We'll see. I don't know. That's about how it always goes. So other than that, I don't.
To me, a thing that sticks out is the Big 12 having 5 teams in the top 10. I know the I think we're SEC guys. SEC is going to be really deep and good as they have been the last few years. But
I think this is the deepest the SEC's ever been. By the way, for those of you listening,
100%. But with Kansas, Houston, Iowa State, Baylor, and Arizona all in the top 10, I mean that's a Big 12 is going to be just as good, maybe better than the SEC this year. They're a super deep conference. It's going to look a lot different, especially a couple of SEC being part of it too. All the influx of new teams into these conferences. Big 12 got a lot of new teams there.
Yeah, I was about to say, man, like, can we give like a half a second moment of silence to RIP to the Pac-12?
RIP to the Pac-12, who are still hanging on with
Oregon State and Washington State.
State and Washington State, yeah, they're still by a hair. They're still hanging on.
There's already been some teams. Looks like Gonzaga's heading that way. There's like whispers that Memphis might, which again kind of blows up the whole like, hey guys, forget your uncle's past where the conference is purely based on like
the region makes sense. Yeah, no, that's gone. Yeah, football has killed that. Yeah,
it's dead. Yeah, weird conference. Yeah, dead. Get used to it. So, yeah, we'll have to get used to seeing Arizona in Big 12 logos and not Pac-12 after dark ball games. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I think it's going to be pretty heavy Big 12, SEC, Big East. I think it's going to flirt top 25 stuff. Yeah. But other than that's probably your well,
I think Big 10 for as many teams as they've got and how many big, jerseys and logos. I think the Big 10 is I'm sure they'll have a handful of tournament teams, but I'm not seeing anybody that really sticks out as like, oh, they'll contend for a Final Four at the end of the year. I don't know, maybe you see it differently, but I think Illinois lost a lot with Terrence Shannon gone. Obviously, what does Purdue look like now without Zach Edey? Creighton will. I mean, they usually can reload and always have competent, good teams. I don't know if you want to speak on Indiana or anything, but I think the Big 10 will be good, but not great.
The only thing about Indiana is Mike Woodson. This is his hot seat year. The magician, as Kenny Payne once famously said, he tricked me. I still can't get over Kenny Payne literally getting behind a mic and saying he tricked me. I mean, Kenny Payne, by the way, was the former head coach at Loserville. He is not there anymore. He coaches at Arkansas. He is linked back up with his boy Cal, and so they're together. But yeah, Woodson basically took the memo from boosters and AD and was kind of like, better figure it out or we'll figure it out for you, which was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. So, expectations are still lofty there.
I mean, but granted, I think expectations for Indiana folks have always been high.
Totally.
But understandably, they've also been in this like weird rut where it's almost like, can we not like get the guy at head coach? Seems like they'll have a season or two where it's good, then they just fizzle out after a couple of years, and they're kind of like, what? So, okay, well, let's do this all over again. So he went they went and dropped the bag in portal, got a couple guys out of high school. This is probably his best roster coming into his, I can't remember if it's his fourth season, whatever, but best roster since he first started at Indiana. So
yeah, it's kind of put up or shut up time for Indiana if we're going to make a run, especially when the Big Ten's probably a little down this year, even with the influx of new teams from the Pac-12. But yeah, Indiana will be a team to watch for sure.
Ohio State, just put a pin in them. We'll see what happens. They got a new coach, flipped a roster. You'll see some names that come from schools that are pretty big transfer in, and so kind of interested to see what happens there. Also kind of interested to see what Izzo does. Like, we flirting with retirement? Are we a year away? Like, I don't know. He's also the kind of guy that you're like, maybe he won't ever retire. I don't know, but I feel like he's close.
Speaking of retirees, should we talk a little Virginia?
Yeah, let's talk, because I don't think it's, well, I won't speak for you, but I do think that we have like a mutual, like, kind of interesting that you decide to do this a week and a half out from the season start,
Yeah.
We'll talk about that, and then we'll jump into SEC.
Sure.
Pop off real quick about
Virginia.
I just,
for those that don't know, Tony Bennett, who's been I guess I say longtime head coach at Virginia. I can't remember when he first started there.
He's been there he was there for a long time. I didn't realize how long it had been.
He's kind of a younger guy. I think he's only at 55. But won a national championship in 2019, has had a lot of really good teams with Virginia in the last, 5 to 10 years. Sort of abruptly, as of, was it this week or the week prior, retires. And I think there were kind of some whispers, and I don't think this came as a complete shock to people who follow college basketball closely. Virginia, the last few years, has, especially after winning their title in 2019, they've always been in the mix still, but there's been a apparent decline. And a lot of people have pointed to the fact that Tony Bennett is just not someone who, safe to say, agrees with or has embraced a lot of the changes in college basketball in the last 5-ish years of transfer portal, NIL, not really his thing, and hasn't really embraced it where a lot of other of the top programs have. And it's been, Virginia has declined since winning that title 5 years ago. And here we are, 2 weeks before the season, Tony Bennett retires. And I think there was some sports writers out there who are insiders who kind of thought that this was probably his plan the whole time, and it was because he wanted a specific assistant to at least get the interim job, and this kind of ensure, you can't go hire a new coach 2 weeks before the season. It has to be this interim guy. Now, who knows? Maybe they still will. I don't know what Virginia's planning to do, but it was kind of, on one hand, surprising, and one hand, not surprising.
Yeah. I like, if you're watching the video of this, I'm shaking my head as I was listening to you talk, because I think of, I remember when that news broke, I had texted you, and I was like, there's half this roster is getting hit up by agent, another assistant coach from a different team that's just basically saying, sup?
Yeah.
Because him retiring, which the scuttlebutt over Burner Ball was, this wasn't a health-related thing.
Yeah.
It was purely what you said, which is he's tired of how NIL is now a thing, transfer portal, all that stuff, which is fine. You don't have to do this.
Totally. I can appreciate guys who have been doing this a long time one way, and then a big change has happened in the industry, college sports, and some embrace it and have gone with it. Some guys can't do it.
Yeah, and That's totally fair, totally fine.
Sure.
I mean,
I know you and I would lean the way of all these changes are good, but I understand if you've done it one way for a long time, and change is hard.
Very.
And he doesn't have anything else to prove. He's won a national championship. Yeah.
All
right.
Yeah. So, but oof, when you do it when the season's about to start.
Yep.
The only people who really knew was like 2 days before, and it was like your wife and kids, and then probably the AD. That's kind of it. Well, probably like the assistant coaches, and then the team. I think what eventually is happening and coming out also is there's a lot of dudes on that team that were like transferred here because wanted to come play for you, and you convinced me of how you run your style of ball, you're doing all these things, and like, oh, now you just decide
I came to play for you. I came to play for Tony Bennett.
Now you decide. Yeah. Like there were whispers back in the spring that's like he could maybe a year away kind of thing, and then just so to drop just an absolute bomb, not just in the sport, but like on the players on your team. This is what I texted you. I was like that roster could be decimated if
because all of those players now have
30 days.
I guess we're a week into it. Yeah, they have the right to transfer now, right before the season.
Immediately eligible if they decide to transfer. And all I could think was like, man, I hope that boosters were. I'm sure to some degree they probably got like a small group of people where they're helping on the NIL pool. Sure. Like, hey, sound the alarm. We need your help real quick. We need to convince these kids. And I'm not even saying that the NIL thing is the number one for every kid. Like, there's probably going to be a handful of those kids that, they're fine. Like, they were going to stay anyway. They don't need the big check. I'm sure they are like, sure, I'll appreciate it. I'll take it. Yeah. But they're going to stay. But I definitely think there's going to be probably like 3 or 4. It's going to be like, might explore my options about for, a week or 2 and just see what's out there.
Yeah.
So, Virginia, I'm not going to say you're going to come in last place in the ACC. That's always reserved for Loserville, even though they're going to be better. We'll see. So, I was talking Virginia. Moving on to our conference, though, and the one that we care about the most, the SEC. Real quick, here's what your media poll dropped for preseason. Now, which, by the way, I forgot to say this even about the AP poll in general. Guys, these are voted on by sports writers who, as I've learned over the years, a lot of them don't watch college basketball. Like, and it's fine. And I also understand the nature of the sport, what it is, what it has been. A lot of people don't tune in until like late February or conference tournament. Like, and that's fine. I get it. You want to be plugged in with football or whatever.
Other stuff going on.
Yeah, we get it. But just know, it's not writers who think like your team stinks, that they evaluate all the time. And it's like, no, they're just shooting and being like, oh yeah, Bama made the Final Four last year. Okay, I'll just put them at number 1. And, I mean, it ended up actually being like a fair vote, but you could look at the rest of the list and be like, I don't know, like, could you make an argument that Mississippi State is a dark horse? I think so. Like, I think you could put them in the top 5, but for whatever reason, they're at number 10. Does it mean anything? Not really. But here's your preseason 16, which, hello, Oklahoma, Texas, welcome. Tip of the cowboy hat to you from Bobby Hoops. We got in order: Bama, Auburn, Tennessee, Arkansas, A&M, Florida, Texas, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. There's your top 10. Following them, we've got South Carolina, Georgia, Missouri, LSU, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt. Mississippi State's probably like the one where I joked about with the top 25 AP poll with A&M. I think I'm just a little shocked that Mississippi State was as low as they are. But if I believe what I believe, ultimately coming into it, which is the SEC could be the best conference in America, to some extent, I'm kind of like, maybe it doesn't really matter this year. Obviously, if you're playing, you want to win the conference, but I think there's a chance they could get up to maybe 10 teams into the tournament.
There's a good chance. I think especially with the other big conference, Big Ten, or one of the other big conferences being probably down this year.
I think as stories have started to drop that your SEC commissioner basically looked at every AD at some point a couple years ago and was like, all right, we're not going to suck in men's basketball anymore, as like a collective unit. I'm tired of watching only Kentucky. For a while, it was like only Kentucky and Florida were kind of your top two. Eventually goes into like Kentucky, Tennessee, Auburn. So, basically just saying like, all right, I'm tired of only seeing like 4 teams get into the tournament.
Yeah.
Y'all better figure out how to like go hire the right guy, get your bag ready. We're going to shell out some money. Yeah. And they would have to basically run it through and make sure that like, hey, this is the guy we want to talk to and potentially hire. You good with this? And he basically give them a yes or a no. And some of the schools got no's. They were like, nope, not good enough. Go get a different guy, which was like, oh, interesting. So looks like it paid off for the league, which, can't really say I'm upset. Like if you want good basketball on a Tuesday night at 9:00, it's fair to be able to flip on the SEC network and be like, all right, we're going to watch some good basketball tonight.
Yeah. There's a good chance you're going to see good basketball happening.
Yeah. I mean, legitimately, I really only think your bottom 3 of LSU, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt's probably only there again because new roster, nobody really knows what's happening in Nashville. LSU's not still on probation, are they? I couldn't remember how long ago.
I thought they still were, but that's either about to end or it just ended, I think.
Yeah. So it's like maybe you're a 1 year or you just got done.
And they showed a little promise LSU at least showed a little promise last year. Will Wade left them in total wreckage. And so they've picked themselves a little bit.
My man basically got in zero trouble, which is just hysterical. Little side note for your first, second, and third SEC, all SEC teams, first team, Alabama, Mark Sears, Walton Clayton Jr. from Florida, Johnny Broome, Auburn, Zakai, Tennessee, Wade Taylor, A&M. I think that's a pretty makes sense. First team, all SEC. Second, Grant Nelson, Bama, Jonas, Arkansas, John L. Davis, Arkansas, Matthew Morrell from Ole Miss, Josh Hubbard from Mississippi State. Again, kind of that makes sense. Third team, Chad Baker, Mazzara from Auburn. Hope I said that right. Alex Condon from Florida, Jackson Robinson, Kentucky, Colin Murray, Boyle, South Carolina, Tremont Mark from Texas. And then I think they gave their player of the year to they gave it to Mark Sears. So I think even on a preseason level, sounds about right. But I did send Hoops a note and I said, okay, we're going to do our picks and say, I want you to give me, who do you think by the end of the season? So this would be before the NCAA tournament starts. They usually give their awards out. Or actually maybe before the conference tournament. But give me your player of the year, defensive player of the year, sixth man player of the year, and then who do you think wins the SEC? So I know that's a lot. We'll start. Okay, who do you think wins the conference by the end of the season, regular season? You can, by the way, you can say your team. There's zero There's nothing wrong with being like, yeah, it's the team I root for. That's who I'm going to pick. Unless you legitimately am like, I think it could be X.
Could Tennessee? Absolutely, I think they could. I think they've got a lot of talent. I'm sure we'll get more into that. For me right now, it's hard for me to not go with the chalk pick of Bama. And they just went to a Final Four. They are returning maybe the best player in the conference in Mark Sears. Nate Oates is legit. And then also returning Grant Nelson, who had I felt like through most of last year was just kind of just annoying guy on Alabama who could make some shots, kind of be a little physical down the post, who just came alive in the NCAA tournament and was pivotal in that run. They got Aiden Holloway, the transfer from Auburn, which is a spicy little transfer there. Bama picking up an Auburn guy. But I just think Bama's going to be – I think they're going to be favored in almost every game they play. And, they just signed a big old extension for Nate Oates. I think they had the number 2 recruiting class. So with some new fresh meat coming in too, but I think Bama's going to be really good, unfortunately. I think they're going to be tough to beat. So that's who I would pick if you made me, which you did, and I did. I picked them. I picked Bama.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna because everything you said is I'm gonna pick Bama too. So all right, chalk it up for Bama.
Now, do I think Bama's gonna run away with it? No. I think this is a great league, and
I think they'll win it.
3-4 other teams easily could win this thing. I just think on paper it's hard, especially with a lot of the I think Auburn could easily be right there with them. I just think with Tennessee, with Arkansas, and there are question marks and there's sense of newness with those teams that A&M just doesn't, or that Alabama doesn't have those question marks.
Yeah,
they're just good.
Tell your brother to forgive me before we post the episode. I think it's going to come down to Bama's going to win it at Auburn. They're tied, and Auburn's hosting. Whoever wins it wins the league. I think Bama's going to win on Auburn's floor, and Bruce is going to cry. So we'll just we're going to roll Bama. Who do you think player of the year? Real quick, who do you think it is?
It's to avoid. I mean, I gotta get a shout out to Mark Sears because I think he's just awesome. But to avoid keeping this being a Alabama fest here, I think John L. Davis is really good. He's the big transfer that Cal brought in from FAU. You might remember John L. Davis was the star on that team who took FAU to the Final Four 2 years ago. He was the co-AAC Player of the Year last year before transferring for his final year of eligibility to Arkansas. I think John L. Davis is a baller and has balled at the best level in college in terms of the NCAA tournament. So, could Cal mess that up for him? Sure. But I think John L. Davis is a dog. And as of right now, I think just because he's a fifth-year senior, he's done it before in being a player of the year in a different league. He's my pick right now. Also, shout out to Wade Taylor because I think Wade Taylor is also amazing for A&M, and I forgot that he was even coming back this year, and he can light it up every night. So, but Davis is who I picked.
I was jokingly going to say, is Wade Taylor in the Hunter Dickinson conversation of, hey man, go get a job category? Just kidding. Wade Taylor's a lot of fun to watch play. I don't want him to get a job yet. I'm going to pick Walter Clayton Jr. from Florida.
Okay.
He just popped off on the scene last year. Unbelievable. I think that I'm not even saying that Florida finished like top 4. Could they? Maybe.
Yeah.
I just think he's right up there with him, I think, in some of the best players in the league. I'm going to go Walter Clayton. Who did I say? Defensive Player of the Year. I feel like this is an easy pick for you. Who are you going to go with?
Easy pick for me. I think I'd probably pick John Broom.
You're really?
Yeah.
Really? That is not who I thought you would pick Zakai.
Of course, I think Zakai's fantastic. Part of me feels like it's just easier to give that award to a big man, and I think Broom's a really good defensive player. I think he was. I saw a stat that he was like number 3 in blocks per game amongst SEC players last year, and I just think another year back, Broom's a great player. It made me a little mad to see him back at Auburn just because he's killed Tennessee a few times.
Sure,
but Zakai absolutely could do it again. I just think it's harder you're asking more from a guard defensively to win that award than you are a big man, in my opinion. I just think Broom's really good defensively. So that's my pick.
I'm going to give you a pick that I don't know if anybody's thinking much of. I'm going to go with Lamont Butler. He currently is a transferred guard at Kentucky. Came in from San Diego State. For those of you who are aware, he was the one who punched San Diego State's ticket into the national championship game against UConn, their first title in their back-to-back years. He hit the game-winning shot in the Final Four. Watched some tape, watched them play in their first exhibition game, and it was enough for me to say, yep, I've seen enough. That's your defensive player of the year, right? So could be a terrible pick. Somebody go ahead and put your sticky note on this one, Lamont Butler.
Okay. Is this in the same category as your love year in year out for Colgate in the NCAA tournament? Just like book it, Colgate.
I almost said something very vulgar and unnecessary about Colgate. I could feel the trigger effect right here, like in the back of my neck, when you say that out loud, because you know what's going to happen. They're going to sneak in.
Yeah,
they're going to end up inevitably in a like 11 to 14 seed, and I'm going to pick them.
Yeah,
and I'm going to ride with Colgate again to like the Sweet 16. And they'll lose their first or second game.
Yeah, death taxes. Colgate.
Yeah. Print the T-shirt, and you'll only see me with it on. Everybody's gonna be like, interesting. Colgate. So, real quick, your sixth man of the year. I'm gonna go with Jackson Robinson from Kentucky. Who's yours?
Oh, man. I don't know as of right now if he's going to start, and this is definitely more a homer pick. But Tennessee brought in this guy, Darlington Dubar from Hofstra. Great name. Mm-hmm. Player of the year type name. But there's been some reports over the offseason that he's getting into shape. Barnes asked a lot of you physically. I don't know that he'll be starting throughout most of the year. He might still, but if Dubar is what Tennessee hopes he'll be, I think he'll be a dynamic kind of wing player off the bench, can come in, play good defense, can come in, get some big buckets, light it up a little bit on some nights. Darlington.
I like it.
That's my guy.
All right. This is a different award, and it's just a team that I've deemed, oh, brother, this team stinks. They're going to get an award. I'm going to give mine. I think I'm going to go ahead and just give it to Vanderbilt.
Oh.
Maybe not fair to them because I don't really know what they got. But, yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'm just going to be sitting on my couch eating Cheetos, getting the dust off my fingernails. Just, brother, these guys stink. So shout out to you, Dennis Gates in Missouri. You skated the bye. Big
well, not that far because they get the award for me. I mean, you can't. They went 8-24 and did not win an SEC game. 0-18 in the SEC last year. That is so bad. They could win. Like, it can only go up for them, really, and it still would be really bad. So,
okay. Quick. Yeah. I was going to say, hypothetical. They get into conference play. They lose, let's say they lose their first 3 games. And they're very mirroring on like what they did last year. Do you think that Dennis gets canned? So, but we're talking like that could happen by third week of January. At that point, you're starting the thick of conference ball games.
Oh man, I mean, I think he has got to get off to a better start this year. I mean, you can read that they've brought it. They have a good freshman class. They brought in Mark Mitchell from Duke. Tony Perkins, who was the point guard from Iowa, who he averaged about, I think, 14 points last year, which, my gosh, at some points watching Missouri last year, it's like there was a lid on the hoop most of the time. So I think they have a few guys and pieces, so they might be actually a little more respectable this year. But for Dennis Gates's sake, they need to get off to a better start just to get some momentum, just to get the ball rolling their way a little bit. Because I think to go 0-18 in the SEC last year, if it starts slowly, I think he might be gone. I mean, it was embarrassingly bad.
I think if you were to say, hey, guys, who's on the hot seat this year coming into the season? I think, unfortunately for Dennis, I think he's number 1. There's been some – I really only think there's probably 2 guys. Mm-hmm. I think it's Dennis, and then there's been some whispers of Todd Golden at Florida, which you may say, he's only been there for 2 years. Why would it be like? Well, you also, if you're watching, they've got a lot of talent that he hasn't really done a whole lot with. Like, he won some games, but otherwise, not doing much when it comes to postseason stuff. So, again, background whispers. Also, he's been kind of flirting with listening to some other teams if they wanted to hire his, services. So, I think some folks in Gainesville are getting a little squirmy on
sure.
You're doing this? Okay, well,
let's see it.
Better see some results. Or yeah. Also, a wild card, not necessarily maybe a hot seat from my end, but kind of like a wouldn't be shocked. Oklahoma. We'll see. Maybe not. Just something to observe. We'll see. That's mine. I don't know if you got anybody else that you've it's unanimous, you're hey, this guy for sure. If you're kind of, that sounds fine.
No. That's all I got.
Feel good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Let's do this. It's just to kind of wrap it up for each other. We've been here look at us, just putting in work on the content.
Oh, yeah.
All right. 2 minutes. Tell me about the Vols. What are you excited for? What you've been hearing? Yeah. Give the people your spiel on this is what I'm looking forward to as we about to begin the season.
Mm-hmm. I think what I am maybe you say excited, maybe you just say intrigued. This Tennessee team's going to look a lot different just with the guys on. Obviously, Zakai is still here. We've still got a few. There's going to be some familiar faces for some Jemai Meshack and Jordan Gainey, and then a few of the young guys from last year who you're definitely going to see more playing time from. JP Estrella was a guy who I think the team was very pleasantly surprised, or maybe not even surprised, but he stepped up big in the NCAA tournament when others down in the post did not. So some familiar faces there. Zakai, his senior year, it'll be big emotional final season for Zakai. But really, we got a lot of new faces that are going to get a lot of playing time. The big transfer was Chaz Lanier, who transferred, big NIL guy who kind of came down the wire between Tennessee and Kentucky. He's from Nashville. He's a Tennessee guy. He's a shooting guard who can just light it up. I think he had the best 3-point shooting percentage, or one of the best in the nation last year. He's going to be we're going to need him to be big, not just because we're paying the NIL's big, but we have a big hole in scoring that is gone now from with Dalton Connect being gone, who is a generational player here. But the big names coming in being Chaz Lanier, Igor Milicic Jr., who that's my pick. That's my guy who I think if the Tennessee offense especially is going to really go, Igor, 6'10" forward who can shoot, step out and shoot the three. He's from Croatia, transferred here from Charlotte. We got Darnstone Dubar, who's come in from Hofstra, who I mentioned earlier. And then the last big transfer is Felix Okapara, who transferred from Ohio State. He's going to get a lot of minutes at center. I don't think he's going to be a guy that we're going to be asking a ton from offensively. He's going to be a big defensive presence, blocking shots, pick and roll, going up for alley-oops and offensive rebounds and things like that. So I think this is going to be a Tennessee team that is going to need to be the sum of the parts a lot more than last year. Last year we had our games where, everybody was playing well offensively and that was great. But a lot of the games that we didn't, it was just Dalton Connect, take us home, buddy. And he did a lot. And he was a once in a lifetime player here. I don't know that we have any guys like that, but I think Barnes has done a good job shoring up the team with adding a lot of scoring depth in the transfer portal. Zakai will be Zakai, I'm sure. Some young guys, I think he wants to see step up. I think a guy who, if you really follow Tennessee basketball closely, Cam Carr, who is a 6'6" shooting guard sophomore, he has the ability to step in and look like a first-round draft pick, like a lottery pick, with the ability to light it up. From what you read, defensively, he's not there yet. And if you're not there defensively for Rick Barnes, that matters too much to him to give you a bunch of playing time just because you can score much. You have to be like Dalton Connect level scorer. So I'm excited for Tennessee. I think they're going to look a lot different this year. I think with Barnes and Zakai still leading the team, we'll be right there at the top. I don't know that our ceiling is quite as high because I don't think we have a player remains to be seen with Chaz and Igor if they have the ability to lift us offensively the way Dalton did. But we're a team I think that we should definitely win at least 25 games, be there right at the end, top 3 SEC, chance to compete and win the season outright because we're going to play good defense. We always do. It's just a matter of what these new pieces look like offensively that I'll be watching closely.
I like it. My boy Hoops is absolutely dialed.
Oh, yeah.
Dialed in.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, forget the like local guys who are covering the team. Just text Hoops. Just say, hey, what do we think? He's got you, baby. He's got your back. Don't worry.
I love this team. I love the basketball team. I live and die with them. They're just they feel like my wife Erin.
Find you.
Oh, she's always joking that I call all the players by their first name when I watch, and it's like because I think they're my friends. I just like.
Yep.
I just love them dearly, and they're like they're my friends. So we're on a first name basis.
Dee does the same. She's like, you know them? I'm like, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
If I didn't say their first name, I would take a hint. Here's what I'll say about Here's what I'll say about Kentucky. Overall, I think you're going to watch, as I've jokingly said already, the Prince of Provo. I think you're going to watch a guy, his staff, his team implement a game plan and execute it as best as they can. And if it works, great, which I think is going to happen more often than not. Like, I think they're going to beat the teams that, like, yep, you should beat them. Whether you beat them by 20 or 71, whatever, or, if you beat them by 5, I think they're going to take care of business and win the games that they should. But the thing, I'm not even going to go on to I think that it's always like, it's not one end of the pendulum or the other, just because they beat Kentucky Wesleyan by 71 points because they hit 21 threes, 125, 123 points that they scored. I think it's always going to land somewhere in the middle. But if you're telling me if landing in the middle means we're making 14, 15 threes a night, if you're telling me being in the middle means guys know where they're supposed to go, that they're running sets, get the ball off of a rebound, guys are getting to their spots, not throwing ghost screens, and we're not watching dudes run into each other. We're creating space on the floor, back cuts, twists, all those nerd basketball terminology things.
Sure.
If you're telling me that that's what I'm going to see this year, it's going to bring a grown man to tears. It's going to be, chef's kiss. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be fascinating. Like even Colin Chandler the other night when he was talking about postgame, he was like, yeah, Coach Pope sends us they send us the team that we're supposed to be scouting and going after a night or two before. And it's like, here's your job. Here's what you're supposed to do. Here's who you could be guarding. This is what they do normally, their tendencies, all these things. And I'm like, this is night and day from the previous staff. That's like, we don't really study. We don't really do film. We don't really work on defense until later in the year. I'm not worried about it. I don't really run out of bounds plays. Like possession, whatever. That's only 6 possessions if we're running out of bounds plays. Whereas another guy's like, I'm not going to miss a possession. You're telling me that could be another 3-point bucket? Let's run a play.
Yeah.
Man, to somebody may say, like Arkansas fans, for instance, maybe, dude, why don't y'all just get over it? He's gone. I'm like, okay, that's fair. You know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, it's fine. I miss him. Like, hell no. You kidding me? No, sir. I hope they lose every game. I hope they lose every game. I'm going to sit here and be petty. Am I going to watch some of them? Sure.
I can't wait.
Am I going to watch all of them?
That Arkansas, when they come up to Lexington and the con man steps foot back in Rupp Arena, that's must-see TV. I can't wait.
Buddy, if I was willing to sacrifice about 2 or 3 mortgage payments over a ticket, you'd find me up there by myself. But I'm not. I will be shirtless for a lot of that ball game, and I will be on my toes that night. I'm also just excited to not hear any more, hey, hang in there with us, be slow, don't get don't overreact. It's It's going to take us a while. We're going to get ready for March. We're built for this. They're not robots. Place the blame on me, not the players. All is you basketball bennies, you guys are crazy. No more of that crap, dude.
It feels like with whatever Kentucky loses in regards to what Cal brings to the table is top end recruiting or top end transfer portal, gets and things like that. Like whatever Kentucky loses in not having Cal there anymore, everything else just it feels like in speaking for you a little bit or speaking for Big Blue, it just feels so refreshing. It sounds like we've got a guy coming in, like whether or not Kentucky has like the top end talent this year, they're going to get coached up. They're going to be developed. We're going to have plans. We're not just rolling the ball out and asking, all world freshmen Reed Shepherd and Rob Dillingham and to name two of many over the years. Too often it became, hey, 18-year-old talented kid, go figure it out for us.
Yeah.
And sometimes they did and sometimes they didn't. And now like it just feels like Kentucky's going to be like an actual basketball team of like, you're going to get coached up. Wow, what a novel idea. And run plays.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. And the team will be bigger than just the coach. It feels it'll be really interesting to see what Kentucky looks like this year.
Yeah, all I got to say is based off of their stat box from their last exhibition game, not going to miss going 6 of 24 from 3. So enjoy that, Arkansas. Hope you have a great time. Will you have more talent than majority of the teams in the United States? Yeah, 100%. But enjoy your middle-high ball screens and, hey, go make a play. Enjoy guys running into each other. Whatever. Enjoy it. Hope the thing is, he's probably got the most talented team he has had collectively in years. Could they make a run? It'd be a 3 seed? Sure. You know what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Y'all know what's going to happen. So
we'll see.
Enjoy it. Hope you have a great time.
Really interesting to watch Arkansas this year and watch. You've said
there'll be a lot of fun.
Sure, they'll be fun to watch. Cal's probably revitalized a little bit. Maybe he dusts off the whiteboard and actually draws up a couple plays for the Hogs. Maybe.
Maybe.
But it's gonna be real. It almost feels like an experiment to a degree. Like, let's see if he's brought in a lot of talent. Guys from Kentucky, a guy from Tennessee. That was weird. By Jonas Adu. But it'll be very interesting to watch Arkansas this year.
It'll be very interesting indeed, not just for Arkansas, but the conference and college basketball in general. So I think we've had a good episode welcoming back not just us, but college basketball as well. So to that end, we'll chop it up more on episode 29. But until then, thank you for joining us. I'm Big Papa. It's Bobby Hoops. See you, gang.
See you.